In California, illegal immigrants are now able to collect some sweet stimulus cash, and a lot of people are very angry about this. Now, California, for the most part, is a Democratic state. We'll see how things change now that everyone's kind of upset about the lockdowns. But, look, polls say a lot of things. The only thing that's going to really prove anything is when it comes to the votes. We can see what the media says. You can hear my opinion. We really don't know. But I will tell you, there's probably a lot of people in California who don't like the idea that people who came in illegally are now getting cash. Doesn't seem to make a whole lot of sense. Fox News says California opens up coronavirus funding for immigrants in state illegally, faces backlash. Undocumented immigrants in California are now allowed to apply for the state's coronavirus relief program that will pay $500 per person and up to $1,000 per household, according to reports Monday. The Los Angeles Times reported that Sacramento has freed up $75 million for the fund, which could help about 150,000 who may be facing severe hardships during the pandemic. An earlier report in the paper said the Center for American Liberty is suing the state, claiming that the money is not a slush fund for the governor to spend as he sees fit. It hopes to block the package. Opponents of the measure insist that any taxpayer funds should be directed to U.S. citizens who are also struggling amid the pandemic. The LA Daily News reported that the state is home to about 2 million undocumented immigrants who are not eligible to receive any kind of federal stimulus. The report said the fund could hit $125 million, which would include $50 million from donations. The money is expected to run out quickly. The state website opened on Monday, and there was so much traffic the site crashed, the Fresno Bee reported. The website is currently up and running, and we are continuing to increase its capacity. Kim Collette, attorney and fellow at Legal Aid at Work, told the paper that the state should step in and do something more significant because the funds will only cover a percentage of the immigrants in the state illegally. Applications will be accepted until June 30th or until funds dry. Governor Gavin Newsom announced in April that he would spend $75 million of taxpayer money to create a disaster relief fund for immigrants living in the country illegally. And of course, he was criticized by Republicans for this. They end by saying, instead of meeting these urgent needs, Governor Newsom has chosen to irresponsibly pursue a left-wing path and unilaterally secured $125 million for undocumented immigrants, said Grove, who represents Bakersfield. Conservatives are furious about this, and I can understand why. Now, the left argues that many of these immigrants are taxpayers, even though they're here illegally, and thus they're entitled to this money. But how do you track whether or not everyone who's getting the money is a taxpayer? You theoretically could with, I believe it's called a TIN number. The left is trying to create open borders. I guess. It's hard to say definitively, and the reason I say this is because of what the left is. The mainstream left kind of just dotes along without paying attention, and that's why I say kind of. In reality, there are many activists, the Democratic Socialists, who want overt open borders, and the weird thing about it is that even Bernie Sanders acknowledged this is a right-wing proposal, a Koch brothers proposal. It really is. I mean, even today, libertarians, right-wing libertarians, are typically for open borders. At least most of the ones I talk to. Not all of them. There's an argument. It's hard to know for sure. But many of the libertarians I know believe borders are wrong. You shouldn't have them. People can come and go as they please. They can work for how they want. The free market will dictate. Now we're seeing the left propose this. And they use sneaky tactics. Notably, referring to illegal immigrants as unauthorized or just as immigrants to confuse the issue. There are legal immigrants and there are illegal immigrants. An illegal immigrant, I think, is... I don't actually like saying illegal immigrant, to be honest, because I think it makes it difficult to actually... Look, it's about an olive branch. You want to talk to people on the left? I actually think unauthorized immigrant may be a better way of phrasing it. That's what the Associated Press says. But take a look at this. The House's latest coronavirus relief bill gives stimulus payments to unauthorized immigrants. Now is where Vox gets sneaky. House Republicans tried and failed to strike a provision that would give stimulus payments to immigrants. I don't know what they're talking about. Is Vox trying to say illegal immigrants or legal immigrants? By conflating the two, as they've often done, people like AOC, you have the left believing that Republicans are saying the people with green cards shouldn't have access, when actually what they're saying is the people who came here 2 months ago illegally through the border should not be getting taxpayer funds, period. And I think the fair argument is if you give stimulus money to any illegal immigrant, you're incentivizing this behavior. People then think, I better go now if I want to get free cash. And you've got to set a hard stop because, well, for one, you don't want double standards. You can't just say, okay, fine. We'll if you've been in the country for this long, you can get it. They want to say straight up, no incentivizing illegal behavior, period. Think about it this way. While we can argue that illegal immigration is a victimless crime in the sense that there's no direct victim, you can argue there's economic damage, fine. You're basically saying we've created a special bill that will give cash to all people who have broken these specific laws. That doesn't make sense. The law is there to deter the behavior, to say we will enforce against this. If you say these laws get special exemption and will actually give you money if you qualify having broken these laws, then you're going to get people breaking those laws. Let's read what Vox says. Specifically, I want to see what they're talking about with Republicans. House Democrats voted in favor of offering stimulus payments to unauthorized immigrants Friday night, prevailing over Republican efforts to strike the provision from the latest $3 trillion coronavirus relief bill. The HEROES Act, which passed the House on Friday, would make tax-paying immigrants and their families eligible for federal stimulus funds, regardless of their legal status, under the $2.2 trillion CARES Act. So I think, okay, fair to point out, tax-paying illegal immigrants. Only immigrants with Social Security numbers. Okay, so here's what they say. Under the CARES Act, only immigrants with Social Security numbers and who fulfilled certain residency requirements were able to receive the payments, meaning unauthorized immigrants and many temporary visa holders were excluded. Yeah, well, okay. I don't see why that's a problem. Republicans are not convinced that another aid package is warranted after the CARES Act, with Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell saying he hasn't yet felt the urgency of acting immediately on further legislation. And Republicans in the House argued emphatically against the HEROES Act provision, offering immigrant stimulus payments, with Rep. Denver Riggleman of Virginia calling it a poison pill. The Republican position was that relief funds should be dedicated to U.S. citizens only. Despite being joined in their opposition by 13 Democrats, however, Republicans failed to block the provision in a 198 to 209 vote. But it isn't likely to survive the Republicans-led Senate, where McConnell has been explicit in his objection to the plan. Another round of checks for illegal immigrants. Can you believe it? McConnell said in a floor speech May 14th. We forgot to have the Treasury Department send money to people here illegally. My goodness, what an oversight. Thank goodness Democrats are on the case. I'm seeing this meme go around that says, want to know what I think about people getting unemployment checks with a $600 bonus? Nothing. It's none of my business. Poor people and how they spend their money, I don't care because they're not my enemies. People don't seem to understand that if someone comes to this country, a year ago or whatever, and now we're cutting them checks, we are hurting the labor market. Bernie Sanders' words, not mine. Even to this day, Bernie Sanders has still maintained illegal immigration hurts low-skilled labor. When you flood the market with money, you devalue the worth of that money. So there's a lot of complicated problems in economics. And there is one interesting thing I've been reading about. Because of the scale of our economy and its difficulty to track and it's the massive nature of it, we're seeing a lot of strange phenomena in terms of how inflation and deflation work. Notably, right now, we have a major influx of funds into the market, but the cost of things is dramatically dropping because of lack of demand. Thus, prices are actually in a weird position. Some prices are going up, some prices are going down, even though the money market, the money flow is increasing. Ultimately, however, we can't expect that if nobody's working, there's no food, there's no supplies, and there's no services to be rendered. Plus, now everybody has a ton of the money you can't do anything with. That means we are facing, rapid inflation. This is the problem with printing out money for just everybody. If someone's going to be on a temporary visa, why not print money to people in foreign countries? Oh, wait, apparently that was happening. At least some stories suggested people who weren't even in the U.S. anymore were still getting these checks. So look, I get it, right? I was in favor of passing it quickly because we got to do what we got to do. But now we're in a position where we've seen what's happening and we can track what makes sense and what doesn't. I'm not entirely convinced the Democrats actually want to give illegal immigrants money, to be honest, because they know the bill will never pass. I think they saw it as an opportunity to virtue signal to the progressive left and to certain communities to try and get their votes, knowing the Republicans are never going to let it through. And even if the Senate did agree on it, which would never happen, but if they did, Trump would veto it. And then it would go back and then it would be over. If the Republicans in the Senate don't want to move forward, then ultimately nothing moves forward. However, there's still an argument to be had about people who are paying taxes, receiving benefits from taxes. The issue I see, however, is, look, I don't care if you're paying taxes. To me, that is not the end all be all qualification for anything. If someone is here in violation of the law and they're paying taxes, that just means that we're overlooking the fact that they're breaking the law. If someone broke the law, then we have to enforce that. Otherwise, we don't have one. Ultimately, if you want to argue these people should be allowed to be here, then change the law. Vote in Congress, vote for your people, and change it. For the time being, America does not agree with open borders, so we shouldn't be providing taxpayer benefits to people who aren't citizens. You want to change it, change it. But the argument stays the same. We're a community. We all pitch in to help each other, not other people who break the law. If someone broke into my house, I wouldn't be like, you can have my food. I'd be like, get out of my house. Knock on the door and ask for it if you want it, and we'll see what we can do for you. But me and my friends, when we pitch in for stuff, we're not pitching in to feed the neighbors. Sometimes we'll be nice and we'll try our best. But you've got to secure your own mask before securing the mask of those seated next to you, right? I'll leave it there. Stick around. Next segment will be tomorrow at 10 a.m. on this channel, and I will see you all then.